Hello and welcome back to Power Skills with Janna. I'm Janna Jones, your leadership development specialist, coach, and mentor. And I'm so glad that you're here as this episode is a little bit of a special edition. It is leadership development in a way, but not entirely. Same principles as usual, the science and the stories, but this one is a little bit more personal. With the new year just around the corner, it's December 22nd, I believe, as I record this. So let's consider this my gift to you. I want to dive into a practice that was shared to me by an incredible mentor of mine more than 10 years ago. And it's been my annual ritual and New Year's practice, getting complete and intentional. This isn't about making resolutions that fizzle by February. It's a thoughtful process that I do every year, and now with my husband, but happily on my own, or with a fabulous friend before him. First, we will talk about what hasn't worked in the last year before midnight so that we can close that chapter out and leave it behind. Then we will celebrate our successes, acknowledging the micro moments, the practices, and even the people that mattered the most. Finally, we set intentions for the year ahead, making requests for support if needed. And today I'm going to unpack why this works, backed by science, share some stories of how it's transformed my leadership and my life and that of others, and hopefully give you some of the tools to make it your own. We know that what you focus on, you amplify. So let's close this year out with gratitude and step into a new one with purpose, one intentional choice at a time. If you are loving these episodes, please take the time to hit subscribe wherever you listen from. It means the absolute world to me, and sharing with a colleague helps us to reach more switched on leaders, much like yourself. All right, let's jump straight into it. Why this New Year's practice in particular matters to me and some of the science behind it. As always, I wanted to start with why. New Year's is prime time for a natural reset, but most resolutions fail, up to 80% actually, according to a News and World report, because they're rigid, often written from a place of lack rather than a proactive intention, and they tend to ignore reflection. This practice flips that on its head. It's about completion, celebration, and intention, creating a more balanced foundation ripe for sustainable growth. The science is actually really compelling. Releasing negatives, those things that haven't worked, that provides psychological closure, reducing rumination. Neuroscience actually shows that chronic rumination activates the amygdala, spiking cortisol and stress. So, by verbalizing and leaving it behind symbolically before midnight, you signal your brain to let go, calming that stress response and freeing mental energy and capacity. More on that in Gestalt psychotherapy if you're interested in a deep dive. But celebrating successes and the micro moments that matter then shifts our attention to gratitude, which Martin Seligman's positive psychology research links to higher well-being. Gratitude releases dopamine and serotonin, strengthening our neural pathways for positivity and resilience. And acknowledging people also amplifies social bonds via oxytocin, reducing isolation and instead cultivating connection. Setting intentions, not resolutions, is more flexible and values aligned. Per self-determination theory in particular, intentions reduce pressure, increasing follow-through by around 42%. Sharing with a partner also adds accountability in there as well. Social psychology shows that shared commitments are actually 65% more likely to stick because we want to be that person that does what we say we're going to do. We want to follow through. This practice isn't just feel good, it's actually brain smart. It can lower stress, boost motivation, and sets you up for intentional living. As a leader, it models self-awareness for you and your team as well, if you want to share it. I started this one after a tough year career-wise. I was burnt out from overworking and being all things to all people and feeling let down as I then didn't have capacity left to be what I needed for myself in the end. So I felt like I was spinning my wheels. My mentor at the time was a fabulous woman who shared a similar practice with me, releasing what didn't work, acknowledging what has been, so that you can leverage it moving forward. And setting intentions for myself, not just everyone else, really shifted everything for me. I became more focused. Okay. If we have met, you may be wondering what on earth I'm talking about because I can very much seem like I'm the person that has it all together and I'm very focused in pursuit of my goals. But sometimes we all need a reset. That's the power in doing this work. Whether you think you're needed or not, it's transformative. Now, I do it every year, and perhaps so will you. Regardless of your needs, we live in a very complex world, and this practice helps you to close out the year or even a project. Actually, you don't have to do this at the end of the year, do it at the end of a project. It helps you to close it out strong and start the next intentionally. As I mentioned, step one is to release what hasn't worked. Why? Because we want to leave it in the year that was and not take it with us. The first step, done before midnight on New Year's, is talking about what hasn't worked. I like to start by setting the space. I will find a quiet spot. Find a quiet spot with your partner or a trusted friend, or even on your own, no distractions. Maybe light a candle for symbolism or vibes, whatever works best for you. For me, candles are a symbol of my me time, my downtime, and they're relaxing. So that works. As my husband and I have evolved this practice together over the years and do it late night on New Year's, we tend to have a glass of our favorite whiskey in hand, almost savoring the moment in a way. Now, I am not recommending that you become a whiskey drinker. That's just my jam, so you do you. Be honest but kind. List the specifics. It might be that project drained me because I really overcommitted. Or if it's something to do with my husband, I will still use the I language and really avoid blame, focusing on my experience. So, for example, I might say something like, I need more support and less assumptions that I have it all under control, because there are times when my cognitive load feels insurmountable and asking for your support rather than it being offered generously gets a little bit frustrating. Then we can go into the specific ask without an amygdala hijack, making it all too emotive and then unproductive. Then you need to release it. You may do that if you're in conversation by saying something like, okay, good. Thank you. I really appreciate that. Let's leave it behind. Or if you're doing this for yourself and you're writing it down, rather than having an awkward conversation in the mirror, make sure that you actually get rid of this list. You might like to burn it safely, shred it. If it's in your head, visualize it fading. The ritual of actually letting it go is what is going to create closure for you. This is emotional catharsis. Releasing suppressed thoughts reduces amygdala activity, lowering anxiety. Leaving it before midnight leverages that symbolic transition into the new year. Our brains love rituals. According to Norton and Gino for Harvard in 2014, it can reduce carryover stress by up to 30%. What an incredible gift for ourselves as we close out the year. I share this every year to my trusted friends and colleagues, and one of my clients used it to release his resentment over a failed merger, sharing with me that he had held on to the blame and that it was really blocking his focus. Post-ritual, he felt that he then started back in the new year with clarity, turning his team around to the opportunities ahead. For leaders, releasing frees energy for innovation. If it feels heavy, just remember that it's fleeting. Dig deep and then let it go. Step 2, celebrate successes and micro moments. Our aim here is to amplify gratitude. Remember that some of what was good may be behaviors and people as well. So reflect on and share some of your wins, whether they're big or small. It may be something like, I completed that course and I got so much out of it that I didn't realize. I'm really glad that I prioritized my development this year. Or the weekly lean meetings on Monday and Friday celebrating successes with my team have really worked well this year. Also acknowledge those micro moments, whether it's the walking meetings, the laugh out loud moments, that break up the business as usual activities or the small kindnesses. These things build joy. And thank people. Name those people who really mattered to you. For example, I might say my mentor's advice really helped me to shift my perspective this year. There were things I wasn't seeing, and it really changed everything. You may even want to send them a note acknowledging or thanking them as well, because shared gratitude is doubled. If you're writing it down, did you know that gratitude journaling increases happiness by 25%, releasing serotonin and dopamine for mood stability? For those who have listened to this podcast for a while and feel that they are not a teenage girl and therefore beyond journaling, are you kidding me? 25% more happiness? We could all do with that. And it's free, or at least minutes of your time. Amazing. Acknowledging people also gives us a neurochemical boost in oxytocin, strengthening bonds and reducing loneliness. Leaders who practice gratitude report 20% lower stress. It is the perfect anti burnout concoction. Lower stress, higher happiness. Win win. I recently celebrated a colleague's breakthrough, that tough feedback session that builds trust. It reminded me of my own impact and how I need to leverage it. For a mid-career leader, celebrating a team's pivot can really amplify morale. Gratitude isn't fluffy stuff, it is fuel. And step 3 is, of course, setting intentions for the new year and asking for the support that you may need. Intentions are flexible guides that we can hold throughout the year rather than the rigid language of resolutions, which are resolute and final. And when we break one, usually by February, we have a tendency to call it a fail and quickly move on, never to be thought of or spoken about again. We can get intentional by reflecting on our values, for example. What do I want to feel more of? Growth, balance, freedom, success, each of those things will mean something different to everyone. So the next thing to consider is exactly what that looks like to you. Make your intentions specific but open. So for example, I intend to prioritize my well-being, moving my body a few times a week, practicing meditation and healthy eating, versus a typical resolution, which would sound like work out 3 times per week. There are much less barriers for us to push against and ultimately rebel. Then share and request the support you need. This one is so important. I have committed to postgrad study and have some significant ongoing contracts which are important also, plus a family and other passion projects like Pilates and painting that I don't want to give up either. I'm a person that will push through till I just can't anymore. So instead, I need to make a request for support. And perhaps in setting your own intentions, you'll start to find that you actually do too. Saying something like, look, to make this happen, I really need your help with, and then being specific. Sometimes my husband will say, okay, just tell me what I need to do and when. And then I'll say, well, actually adding a to-do list to my own list doesn't reduce my cognitive load. So let's set a dinner and school lunch schedule, and then we can negotiate changes if or when needed. Specificity is key here. Otherwise, we just go back to our default. It is in our nature after all. Intentions will engage our prefrontal cortex for planning, therefore increasing success by up to 40% over resolutions. Shared intentions also leverage accountability. Remember that social commitment boosts adherence by 65%. We genuinely want to do what we say we will do. Builds trust with people, right? That's our default setting. So the openness of the languaging of intentions can also reduce perfectionism, lowering cortisol. My husband and I set intentions like prioritizing our well-being, and then we'll have requested mutual reminders. It can become a bit of a guidepost for our decision making as well. So for example, when an opportunity to do transcendental meditation for the whole family came up, it was an easy yes because it aligned well with our well-being intention. We'll often then get specific under some of those headings when we write them down, but having that openness to create something creates opportunity as well. A leader that I coached set their own intention around deepening team bonds. She then shared this with her team, who started coming up with their own ideas as to how they could fulfill this intention together. As you can imagine, engagement also rose. Resolutions may demand perfection, but intentions invite possibility. I encourage you to step into a world of what may be possible for you. Now, as I mentioned, this doesn't have to be a New Year's practice either. You can do this for a project, even closing out and getting complete on a relationship and setting intentions for the next one, or anything else that you want to get complete on. So let me share some power practices to amplify completion and intention. Perhaps you have a release list, writing down the things that didn't work. Make sure you get rid of that list, however. Burn it safely if you can, shred it, or get rid of it in some way so that you can really get complete. Gratitude glow. List 5 successes and 3 people to thank, for example. Then intention map. Write down 3 intentions. Perhaps you might also include 1 support request for each if it's valuable to do so. And then share 1 intention with someone who will keep you accountable. That's it. No reflection questions in this podcast, no challenge from me this week. I did mention that this wasn't a typical episode. I really hope you do try it. It does work for me. Even the uncomfortable bits at the start are incredibly valuable. If you do take this on, consider it my gift to you. I know that you will do great things with it, leading into what is possible in the most proactive and positive manner. Thank you so much for taking the time out of your day and joining me. For me, this New Year's practice isn't just a ritual, it's a reset for intentional living. By leaving what didn't work in the year that was, celebrating and intending proactively, you amplify your growth exponentially. If this resonated with you, or you want to pay this one forward, please don't hesitate to share and share alike. You can also connect with me on LinkedIn at Power Skills Development, or visit www.powerskillsdevelopment.com to subscribe to our fortnightly Power Pause emails, or just keep it all to yourself. It is entirely up to you. Until next year, stay curious, stay intentional, and lead into the new year intentionally as well. I hope this year brings you all that you need, with enough downtime to be thankful for all that you have.